Hello everyone and welcome. This is Prakash Mahora and I am working at the Asian Human Rights Commission in Hong Kong. Today we have with us Ms. Salina Kafle, who will be discussing with Mr. Vasil Fernando on the fact that many cases from Nepal decided by the Human Rights Committee are pending implementation in Nepal. The discussion will focus on challenges and the way forward on it. Ms. Salina Kafle is a human rights lawyer based in Nepal. She is currently employed by the Human Rights and Justice Center, an organization established with the support of Trial International. She engages with the United Nations Human Rights Mechanism for litigation and advocacy activities. She is also engaged in capacity building activities on the issues of gross human rights violations and international human rights mechanism in Nepal. Her previous experiences include working as a researcher, academician, and consultant for academic institutions and various NGOs. Welcome again, Ms. Salina. I would now like to request Mr. Basil to start the discussion. Over to you, Mr. Basil. Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Basil. Namaste.
Namaste. Welcome to you. I'm very happy
Thank you.
to see you again and to discuss this all important matter about cases that have gone before the United Nations Human Rights Committee and what has happened thereafter. So, if you can first begin with a briefly an account of. I heard there's about 25 the views
Yes.
that has been expressed by the committee.
Yeah.
Could you just give us briefly to start our discussion an overview about this situation?
Yeah, sure. Before I go into Human Rights Committee, I'd like to say a little about the organization that I'm working in. The organization I'm working in is called Human Rights and Justice Center. It was established in 2018 December, and it was established by NGO that in Geneva, Switzerland, called Trial International. We work on 4 different types of crimes. So for now, Trial International and Human Rights Justice Center are working as partners, but our mandate and working areas are same. We work on 4 different types of crimes, which are torture and cruel, inhuman, degrading treatment, enforced disappearances, extrajudicial killing or summary executions, and we also work in conflict-related sexual violence. So we work on 3 different areas. One is litigation. So for litigation, we document cases and litigate it nationally and also in international mechanisms, especially United Nations human rights mechanisms. On this behalf, we have sent many cases to the body called Human Rights Committee, which is a body of ICCPR that Nepal is party to. And we also send communications to various special procedures, special rapporteurs, and working groups. Apart from that, we also conduct capacity building activities and advocate on these issues. Regarding the cases that have been that were submitted before the Human Rights Committee and the decisions, so far, a Human Rights Committee decided on 25 cases. And these include various violations. It includes violations regarding torture, extrajudicial killing, conflict-related sexual violence, even forced child labor, unfair trial, and all. So the cases that were taken to the Human Rights Committee began in 2006. And from 2008 onwards, the Human Rights Committee has been rendering various decisions on Nepal. Even after these decisions, a major challenge that has been to us is the implementation of these challenges. If you look at the decisions or the views that Human Rights Committee rendered on Nepalese cases, they include recommendations like conduct a thorough and full investigation on the crimes, find out, locate the perpetrators, prosecute and punish them accordingly.
We will go one by one. First of all, for the sake of the listener, let's clarify this whole thing. Now, the process of going to the Human Rights Committee is on the basis of the Nepal being a signatory to the optional protocol to the ICCPR.
Yes, yes.
As a result of being a signatory, when did Nepal become a signatory?
It was in 14 May 1991.
1991. Also, already from 1991, Nepal is a signatory to the optional protocol.
Yes, yes.
So the optional protocol gives the right to any citizen of the country, any person living in Nepal,
Yeah.
if they find that human rights have been violated, go before the Human Rights Committee
Yeah.
and to make a complaint about it.
Yes. Yes.
So, and this when they make the complaint, they must ensure that first of all, the local remedies have been exhausted.
Yes. Yes.
So, it's only after everything that is possible within the country has been done, then when nothing really substantially have happened,
Yeah.
then you go to the Human Rights
Committee.
Committee.
Yes.
And in the Human Rights Committee, first they go through to see whether it is admissible.
Yeah.
Has there any cases where the Human Rights Committee has rejected as non-admissible?
So far from Nepal that we know of, none. It has accepted, because
Okay.
when we prepare the cases, we make sure that those are admissible cases, and we conduct a thorough documentation. So as far as I know, I don't know if any other organization has taken it and become inadmissible, but the ones that I know of, it has been considered admissible.
Okay. It means that the cases that have gone before the committee are very substantial ones.
Yes, indeed.
Otherwise, they would have rejected it.
Yes.
So now once they admit, and then a notice is given to the relevant government.
Yes.
Okay. Now at the stage of when the notice is given, has your government consistently submit the response to each of these cases?
Yeah. Regarding the admissibility criteria, the government submits its reply, but usually very late. Actually, they are given 6 months of period to reply on admissibility, but they generally take time. So for Nepal, they do reply, but not on time. So they take their sweet time, and after reminders and all, then they submit the replies.
Generally speaking, about how long will the delay be?
Well, it depends. It actually is dependent from case to case, but I think on an average they take like around 3-4 months to 6 months extra from when they should actually submit.
That's usually, many countries it happens like that. It is not exceptional for Nepal. Some countries have taken much longer. Anyway, in any case, they do submit. They do submit.
Yeah.
Okay.
But every time they challenge the admissibility criteria and say that they are investigating. They give various reasons, and one of the prominent reasons they keep on giving is that there is, since we took many cases from conflict era, they say that they have established these 2 commissions in Nepal and they are going to look after the cases. So it will go through these processes, and hence the case should be inadmissible.
So that's a very interesting issue. Now, on that issue, has the committee made any of his views known for that objection?
Yes, in various cases from Nepal, I remember there's a case called Kotwal versus Nepal, Giri versus Nepal, and so many other cases. The Human Rights Committee has specifically pointed out that quasi-judicial bodies like these TRC commissions are not judicial organs and hence cannot investigate and punish or prosecute these gross human rights violations. So the claim of the government that these commissions would act upon is not valid, and there should be a proper formal criminal procedure to deal with these crimes.
So that's a very, very important decision which should be known also to the world, because many countries try to take that objection by appointing this or that commission or something like that. So the position of the Human Rights Committee, as you say, was that these bodies are not judicial bodies.
Right.
So when they say that it should be exhausted, it means that the judicial remedy should be exhausted.
Right.
And not any kind of inquiry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And now, actually, that's an area we can later discuss in detail, because that's a very, very important jurisprudence. See, you may be a little unhappy that everything has not been implemented.
Yeah.
But the importance of a case to the Human Rights Committee is that even where it's not fully implemented, the very fact of certain legal matters have been clarifying of legal matters.
Yes.
That itself is a great value. So your work has resulted in improving the jurisprudence on the matter, not only for your country, for outside. So that is something that your organization should, and the people who work like you should be happy about.
Yeah.
So now this have they any time commented on the judicial process regarding the cases that you have taken?
In certain cases, we have found that it took longer than necessary for the courts here in Nepal to go through the process. I remember one case specifically where there were so many dates that were given by the Supreme Court for the hearing, but the real hearing never took place. So even on these kind of long time that the courts are taking, the Human Rights Committee has expressed that it's not fair that it should take a longer time, and it should be done more promptly, and justice should not be delayed.
Did they have they ever said, a delay beyond a certain point is a violation of the right of the person itself? Undue delay, the issue of undue delay within the optional protocol, he said that the justice should be done without undue delay.
I am presuming there should be one, but I do not exactly remember the specific jurisprudence. So I'll need to go through it and then check, because there's so many. I don't know it by heart, so I have to go through it.
Okay, so that's fine. Now let's go to a few cases on topic by topic basis, on separate rights. Now, had there been cases, say, around the issue of illegal detention and illegal arrest and detention?
Yes, there have, but the cases are rather coupled with other crimes like enforced disappearance or torture. So in that way, it has been taken to the committee.
Yeah, but when they are giving the decision, they will give separately on the issue of the disappearance or the torture, and separately also they will make their view known about whether there had been illegal detention or the arrest itself is illegal.
Yeah. So generally, when the views are given, we can broadly divide these views into two types. For example, when the views are given, they are a type of the view is specifically addressed towards that particular case. So when they give the views, they say that they do not pinpoint out like illegal arrest and torture, but they say that conduct thorough and effective investigation on all the crimes that took place during that period, and then punish and prosecute the perpetrators. And they go specifically on the compensation. They also speak about the psychological rehabilitation or medical condition of the person, and so on. And there is another type of views that the committee renders, which is more of a preventive nature. For example, they say that there should be amendment in the laws of torture in Nepal. There should be amendment in the laws of enforced disappearance in Nepal. So one specifically towards the crime, and another as a preventive and as a general view towards all these cases, all the cases alike. And one of the prominent views that a Human Rights Committee has always rendered on cases of Nepal, and I'm sure of others as well, is that the government of Nepal translates the decision in Nepali, the local language, the language known to majority of the people, and then disseminate it widely so that people or organizations know about it. So
that's very interesting. Let's spend a little time on that, because in many countries, the governments don't do that. Although the Human Rights Committee recommends, the government should translate it and to distribute to the population.
Yes.
In Nepal, they are in fact translating it to your language and distributing it to the public.
In 9 cases out of 25 cases, the document, the views were translated into Nepali, but they were not widely disseminated, because we knew that there was translation, because we navigated through website of various ministries, and it was found in a certain ministry, and after a few months we could not find it in that ministry's website. So only 9 cases have been translated, and that too not disseminated widely in our case.
So more or less they keep some kind of a symbolic agreement, or in fact there is no genuine attempt to give it to the people.
Yeah.
Are these cases taught in your law schools?
Well, the curriculum that I remember includes of international human rights mechanisms, but it differs from university to university. And I'm not, like, when I studied law, when I did human rights law, I studied human rights on a general perspective, and I did not understand the processes of human rights committee and these decisions were taken. So I don't know what's the situation now, but I remember at my times that it was not as widely taught as it should be. That is why also we have chosen capacity building as one of our activities, where we in particular tell all these participants about the decisions and its recommendations and how the government is not implementing it and all. But universities, I'm not quite sure. Yeah.
Is it possible, if you remember, just take one single case and explain the incident as well as issues, what the government said, and what the final decision, final view was? Is it possible, or we will do it another day?
I think I remember a few cases, but I might forget certain things. So can we do it in another day?
Okay, we will go into details of few cases.
Yeah,
select
sure.
about let's say 5 to 10 cases.
Yeah, sure.
We'll go in detail into each case.
Yeah. So when I do that, I'll make sure that I study various cases. For example, sexual violence, child labor, and others. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
We can do that. Yeah.
So has there been, as you say, cases on child labor?
In one of the cases, the government there was a decision in child labor and amendment on the laws relating to child. It was, I remember, a case where a child was convicted of stealing some property from the place that he worked on. He belongs to the indigenous community of Nepal and belongs to the western area, a rural part of Nepal. So he used to live in the capital of the country with a family of former army, and then he was accused of stealing some items there, and that is how he was implicated, and he had to be in jail and all those things. So in that particular case, the Human Rights Committees has spoken about child labor, in fact, and it was also covered by UN's press, a separate press release from the UN.
So that's a very important case.
Yeah.
Now you said that there was also cases on the child sex abuse.
I remember a case of conflict-related sexual violence. It was of a woman who had been there are two cases that have been decided. One very recently in 2019, which is a case of Fulmati. We say it's a pseudonym given to her. So she comes from Kailali, which is again a rural part of the country, and she was raped multiple times by the then army, the Royal Nepalese Army, and the armed police force. And then the she after that she tried to get the justice in Nepal, and she tried to bring in the complaint. But one of the major obstacle for such victims was that the time of limitation to register a case for the cases of rape was 35 days. So this has been a great challenge for the victims here at ground. Now the laws are changed, and now it's 1 year for rape cases, but still we feel that it is inadequate to address the conflict-related sexual violence, because the newly formed laws are not retrospective and they do not incorporate those issues, and that is only for the cases of general crimes. So one of the major challenges that we are facing as lawyers are that there is time limitation on cases. That was even so for torture cases, that there was this 35-day limitation to complain. So that actually.
So what you mean is that a case, if it is torture, if you complain after 35 days, it is not valid. They will not investigate, or they will not do anything. And
previously.
How it is now?
It's 6 months now, and you'll be amazed to know that it has been criminalized. So earlier, the crimes of enforced disappearance and torture were not criminalized, but with the advocacy of various civil society organizations and the decisions that came from Human Rights Committee, it has been amended, and now they are criminal offenses. But again, there is a challenge on prosecuting these crimes, because there was this problem earlier as well, and still now, that the police do not entertain the complaints of the victims. It's called First Information Report, FIRs, here in Nepal, which actually begins investigation on crime. So the police are not entertaining it at all. So that is another challenge that we are having. And
has that issue been taken up by any case before the Human Rights Committee?
Yes, in fact, yes. And the Human Rights Committee has said that, and sometimes it has also happened that the police claims that the FIRs have been registered and they are investigating the case, but that's a false claim, because they do not give information about the case being investigated to the victims or their legal representatives or anybody else, but they lie that, yeah, we are working on it and we have registered it. So the Human Rights Committee has also spoken on this matter and said that registration of FIR itself does not mean investigation. So there have been
they have commented on the distinction between the taking FIR and investigation.
Yes.
So generally on all human rights issues in many of these countries, the problem lies with the actually either non-investigation or very poor investigations in a way to let the perpetrator go free.
Right, right.
Now, have you, in your organization's cases, have you taken up that issue?
The cases that I remember, most of the I think most of the crimes were not registered itself, or some were, even if they were registered, they were not investigated. So yeah, we have raised these issues in our complaints.
What is the reason for non-investigation? Is it merely because it applies only for human rights violation cases like torture, or is it a general problem that exists regarding all crimes in your country?
Well, in specific crimes, I would speak for human rights violations since we work on it. So, generally, the perpetrators on these crimes are the police or the state mechanism themselves. So, they do not want to take it forward. And the other reason is also that we have taken so many cases forward that were conflict related cases, and the conflict here in Nepal ended, whereby the party to the conflict became a member of the government later. So they are not very interested in taking all these agenda of transitional justice forward. So that is why also these go non-implemented. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm referring to cases which are not directly related to the earlier past, civil war related crimes,
Mm-hmm.
but for cases which came up later. Are you satisfied with the normal criminal investigation system that exists in your country?
On a general basis, no, I would say, because still we find that there is a lack of investigation. Even I'm speaking this for specifically, I remember of crimes relating to rape, which is a general crime. So even in the rapes that were committed by normal citizens, the cases are not investigated, and they're rather settled outside the court. Or sometimes even these, in certain areas of the country, there are panchayat, who are the people belonging to upper caste, and they have these small formed groups who decide on the cases, and they discourage the person to take the case forward towards the formal complaint mechanism. In the past, we have even found that a girl actually committed suicide because she was not let to take the case forward towards the formal mechanism. Even if we talk about the case that starts investigation in Nepal, we have found that the processes are not correct. I remember that in one of the cases, a forensic expert told me that the perpetrator could have been easily identified had the investigation and sample taken from the crime site been done correctly. So there is a lot of mishandling of the evidences, and the due diligence is not provided even in the cases of investigation. Now, a few police officers also complain that they do not have advanced technology, which is true as well. But I think on a general basis, the investigation itself is very lacking. At the same time, there is lack of forensic experts in the country, and people rather try to settle it outside than go through formal mechanisms.
Okay. I think the it is better to go for shorter interviews where we will take one by one, because the idea is that your problem will be understood outside, and that they will also begin to support your this, and
Yeah.
we build a greater solidarity.
Yes, yes. Now we have also problem because in Nepal there are very few organizations who take these cases to Human Rights Committee. Because in Human Rights Committee the evidentiary value has to be high. You have to follow certain format. You have to make sure that you collect all the evidences, witnesses, testimonies are attached, and it requires a certain labor. So I remember the organization that I belong to, which is Human Rights Justice Center, supported by Trial International, and there is another one called Advocacy Forum that takes up these cases.
Yeah,
So
we know the advocacy forum well.
yeah, so there are less number of CSOs who take it forward. So since there are less number of CSOs, the advocacy on it also somehow becomes lost, or somehow it is not getting the attention it actually should get. So we feel that we want to we want to push the government towards the implementation of these decisions as well, and conduct as more as advocacy programs as we can.
Yeah, that's very necessary in many places. Are you happy with the time taken by the Human Rights Committee itself to decide these cases?
Well, it's long, I have to admit, but since it's the Human Rights Committee and it also is loaded with many complaints and which it has to take, so I think in few cases we have got decision a little quicker than the other cases, but I think given their time and given their workload, I think it's okay. But still, I think since it requires a lot of materials, maybe it could be a little easier, or a more friendly approach. So
This is very good. So what we will do on the next one,
yeah.
we will get number of cases on each separate topic. If
Okay,
it's
sure.
torture, if
Yeah.
it's disappearances, it's on forced disappearances,
Mm-hmm.
and if it is on child abuse or the sexual abuse,
Oh, yeah.
and also has any case been taken on the issue of Dalits?
Dalits. Not that I remember of, but there should be some. I'll try to check if there are, because I remember a lot of cases belonging to indigenous Tharu community and others, but Dalits, I have to check.
Okay, so this is a very good discussion, and we will get back once again within less than a week
Okay.
with a few cases on specific cases.
Okay.
And then we will continue within a short time. We will cover the whole topic, but to keep it short so that people will, have a look at it, because if it's longer,
Yeah.
it's difficult. But first of all, for us also to understand, so
Yeah.
that we can decide on how we can help you.
Yeah,
And we can
sure.
work together, not help you. It is also our problem. Your problem is also our problem.
Yeah.
Problem of several countries.
Yeah.
So then, thank you very much.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Prakash, for organizing.
Yes, thank you,
And
sir.
we will meet as soon as possible.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Rashid. Thank you, Salina. We'll talk
Thank
later.
you.
Thank you very much.